What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And on this beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon, or depending on where you're watching this, it might be morning, it might be evening. It's a worldwide broadcast, because you know why? Facebook. It's a beautiful day in the world today, especially you guys. I was able on Friday, you may have noticed we didn't do a show on Friday, and that is because I got my second and final COVID vaccination shot. Hooray! And guess who's felt like garbage all weekend? This guy. If you haven't had your second vaccination shot, well, if you haven't had any vaccination shots, let me tell you how it goes. You get your first vaccination shot, and it's just like any other vaccination shot. Your arm is sore for a minute. You kind of feel maybe a little gross, but nothing too bad. And you go about with your day, right? Well, not so with the second shot. Because as we all know, you need a booster shot. Oh my dear heavens. This was, with my left arm, this was about as high as I could raise it. It hurt so bad. It felt like somebody had just like taken a bowling ball and smashed my arm. It hurt so bad. And I felt so sick. It was like all the flu-like symptoms. I was thankful I did not get the chills, but I got every other symptom that comes along with the flu. It was rough. I'm still kind of muttering through it. I'm just drained of energy, but I will pull myself together for the sake of the show. And you guys, we're not here to talk about COVID vaccinations. We're here to talk about movies. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. In fact, I've actually had to cut some stuff out of the show today because we got so much to talk about. And helping us talk about all of the stuff, movies and movie news in the world today, is a very good friend of mine. He's an improviser. He's a comedian. He's a comic book aficionado. You can see him performing with off-the-cuff improv comedy down in southern Utah in Cedar City, Utah. Please put your hands together for a very good friend of mine, Bald Nate! Woo, 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 woo!
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, man. Bald Nate, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good. Like you, I'm kind of on the tail end of recovering from that vaccine, but generally things are very good.
Rough,
yes,
man. It's rough.
So yeah, I joked it was like all my sins have finally come back to haunt me. So all my bad karma added up to that day.
Now, Nate, it needs maybe a little bit of clarification. When I refer to you as Bald Nate, this is a title that you give yourself. This is a title of affection and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, due to my great love of the American Eagle.
It's beautiful, an absolute beautiful symbolism of America and patriotism, and not to mention Captain America. Bald Nate, thanks so much for coming to the show. Thanks so much for talking to all things movies and movie news. Real quick, as I do with every single one of my guests, what makes you qualified to sit down and chit-chat movies?
Well, I love movies just like anybody else. I've, done a little bit of them, but like you said, I'm a huge, huge fan of comic books and stuff like that, which are very into movies. I've been collecting comics for 32 years and have 10 to 20,000 issues in my collection. Wow. So between that and just my knowledge of theater and performance and stuff like that.
Well, hey, you know what you're talking about. We know what you're talking about. And we have a comment that just came in from the live comment section. I usually try to save comments for the end of the show. So if anybody types in a comment, just know that we'll address it at the end of the show. But this one bears mentioning right now. This comes from Roland Lopez all the way in Los Angeles. And Roland said,
he's the best. He's the best.
Roland says, I came for the Mike Brown. I stayed for the Bald Nate. I mean, how else should we see this situation? Roland, you've been a guest on the show, I think twice now. We need to have you back. You're a wonderful human being. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. And as always, guys, if you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube and type in Gotta Love Them Movies. In the top right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a little red rectangle that says subscribe. Go ahead and click on that button. What clicking on that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. And with the more subscribers the channel has, the more watched content the channel gets. And with the more watched content the channel gets, I get to make this my full-time job. So I very much appreciate you going over and doing that. Of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, the live portion of the show will move from Facebook to YouTube, so just something to be on your radar there. And if anybody has any comments or questions, anything movie related, television show related, pop culture related, hit me up at gottalovethammovies@gmail.com, and maybe your question or comment, as long as it's family or friendly, will be featured on the show as a main topic. So please send me an email at gottalovethammovies@gmail.com, and we can go from there. All right, guys, with that down and out of the way, now it's time to take a little bit of movie news.
What?
What? What?
All right, you guys. Whoa, there was a weird camera angle for me right there. As I mentioned before, we're going to take your... well, first of all, I guess it bears mentioning, we have an actual emailed question. And like I said, if you haven't already sent me an email, send me an email at gottalovethammovies@gmail.com. We'll make your question or comment a main topic on the show today. And our first main topic is this. Comes to us from Matthew Wiles, a longtime watcher of the show, Mr. Matthew Wiles, who comes to us from Leeds in the UK. And Matthew says, "Hi, Mike, old buddy, old pal. I'm watching the Snyder Cut Justice League trailers, and I'm getting so pumped for it, even though I have no idea if I'm going to be able to see them as I'm in the UK. I can't be the only one." He goes on to say, "I love the dark feeling and tone to it all, and it got me thinking, could this launch a new R-rated DCEU? Other words, DC Extended Universe. I think that would be amazing and totally stand out from Marvel. I'm not wanting Batman to be dropping F-bombs or Wonder Woman to take her kid off, but the violence and tone is so interesting. They can still have the more lighthearted movies like Shazam and Black Adam, but I think this could be a thing. What do you think? Also, help me out. How am I gonna watch it in the UK? All right, Matthew, thank you so much for the question. I think first of all, you posed the question in two different parts. First of all, how are you going to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League when it comes out? And the second part of the question is this going to kick off a new R-rated DCEU? Or in the UK, I guess that would be more akin to like a 15 rating or an 18 rating, probably closer to a 15, I would imagine. Yeah, so let me address the second part of your question first. How are you going to watch it? Well, I'm afraid I don't have great news for you. So let's go back to Wonder Woman 84 for a second. As we all know, like, we live in a state of a world right now where the theaters are shut down. Movies aren't really playing in, I almost said vibranium. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. It's hard to see movies right now, right? Unless they're coming out on streaming. I live in New York City. All of the movie theaters are shut down. All of the performance theaters are shut down. So we don't really have a lot of options in terms of viewing new films and television shows and movies, right? Well, especially in movies when they come out in theaters. So how are you going to watch this in the UK? Well, I think it was Digital Spy. I should have had the article ready. I didn't. I think Digital Spy did an article that they don't have any plans to release Justice League, the Snyder Cut, or rather Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the UK. It's not going to be a theatrical release. We already know this. It's coming exclusively to HBO Max, and when HBO Max isn't available in the UK, because of all of Warner Brothers' other deals and everything already with Sky Television and Sky Streaming, they already have all these other deals in place. So how are you going to be able to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League? It's not coming out in theaters, and you can't get it on HBO Max because HBO Max is not available. So how are you going to watch it? Well, I would like to cite Wonder Woman 84 for a second. Wonder Woman 1984 came out in theaters 2 weeks before it did here in the United States. In the UK, it came out 2 weeks before it did in the United States. So it played in theaters for about a month. And then on Sky Premium, on some of the more premium VOD streamers like Amazon Prime or iTunes, it became available to rent. Wonder Woman 1984 became available to rent about a month after its release in theaters. So it's my belief, it's my understanding, it's my theory that the Snyder Cut Justice League will be available to stream, or rather to rent, on premium VOD. I'm going to say about 3 weeks to a month after it becomes available here in the United States. So that really sucks. That really sucks for everyone living in the UK. Of course, this is my projection. These are my thoughts. I don't have any concrete proof or evidence, but it stands to reason. It's going to be released in the UK. It just is. When is it going to happen? We don't have any definitive answers. And I also kind of think that it's going to follow a similar pattern of what happened with Wonder Woman 84. Now, Nate, you live in Southern Utah. You don't live in the UK. So matters of like, hey, when are films going to be released in the UK? That doesn't really affect you at all. But have you heard any other whispers about as to when Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be released in the UK? Do you think that I have a pretty good theory, or do you have something completely different? What are your thoughts there?
I would say everything that you said sounds entirely accurate. It's so hard to speculate since we live in the time of the apocalypse when anything's coming out and stuff like that. So it's I think everything that you said is about accurate as to when they can expect it, because they're definitely not gonna not release it out there, especially, if there's money to be made. So it'll come out eventually. It's just the question of when is so hard to figure out these days.
That's the tough question right now. But I do want to go back and address Matthew's main portion of his question is Zack Snyder's Justice League going to kick off a new R-rated DCEU? No. In short, in essence, no, but also yes. It's kind of a complicated question. The DCEU, from Zack Snyder's perspective, I guess, it's already been reported that Zack Snyder is done with Justice League. They're not doing a Justice League 2. Zack Snyder is, in essence, not going to be writing or directing any more films for Warner Brothers DC. He's essentially done with the DC characters over there. He's still going to executive produce on pretty much all of the DC films, but he's not going to be writing or directing any new stories or taking them in any specific directions, right? But I would like to cite for a second, let's jump over to MovieWeb. It has been reported and confirmed that James Gunn's Suicide Squad is going to be rated R. I would also like to back up about a year. A year? Wow. Maybe a little. I can't remember when Birds of Prey came out. Birds of Prey was released theatrically, and it was also rated R. The Joker movie, the standalone Joker movie directed by Todd Phillips, that was rated R. Even let's go back even further to Batman versus Superman. The theatrical cut was PG-13, but the Snyder cut of BVS was rated R. Let's go even deeper into this for a second. a lot of the DC animated films are rated R. Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns saga, that's rated R, and it's brutal, and it's awesome. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend everybody go watch it, because it is so incredible. I mean, they have a lot of animated DC films that are rated R. Some of them have intense foul. Look at the Harley Quinn show playing on HBO Max right now. And I understand HBO Max isn't available in the UK, but I believe on other streaming networks or services or whatever, the Harley Quinn animated show is available, and that is brutal. It's violent. It's foul. It's glorious. It's everything that you want it to be. So let's go back to your question for a second, Matthew. Is Zack Snyder's Justice League going to kick off a new R-rated DCEU? No, because it's already happening. It's something that's already in place. It's already in motion. And not to say that DC and Warner Brothers have decided that, you know, all the DC films are going to be R-rated. But they're allowing themselves to go in that direction if that's what makes a good story, if that's what makes an interesting and compelling story. Go for it. Lean into to your R rating and give us something that we haven't seen or felt or heard or smelled before. But yeah, I don't think that Zack Snyder's Justice League is providing that, paving the way. In essence, paving the way. I don't know. Bald Nate, what do you think over there?
You know, I agree. I think they have a good opportunity to be like the best of both worlds, right? Like they're not like Marvel and Disney where like they have an image to maintain. Like they have established like family-friendly content and more adult stuff out there, like you said. You know, even like Doom Patrol, the Teen Titan or the Titan show is a little edgier and stuff like that. So I think you can exist within a happy medium, right? And like I would like it to see, once again, not like, you know, graphic stuff, but like I always kind of felt like the Suicide Squad, while trying to be more, the first one, while trying to be edgier, it felt like tame. Right, like they're still playing it safe.
It was. It could have been something interesting and fun, and it ended up kind of falling flat on its face. And it needed that license. There was. Do you remember when Logan came out under 20th Century Fox, and everyone was wondering like, how is Logan going to be? Like, is he just going to rip everybody apart and go? You know, the filmmakers, James Mangold, he specifically said, like, we don't want this movie to be rated R so that we can do whatever we want. We have a very specific story that we want to tell. And these are the elements that we want to put into the movie, because these elements help to illustrate why this is important and the gravitas of this and blah, 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 whatever. And that's why they needed to rate the movie R to tell the story, as opposed to do it in reverse.
Yeah, it's not a means to an end. It's, you know,
And that's, I think, what Suicide Squad should have done, is figured out the story that they wanted to tell and then give it the proper rating accordingly. But as you say, like, they were just kind of playing it safe. Yeah, anyway, guys, big question for you is, what do you think of the DCEU being rated R, or if you're in the UK, rated 15 or 18, whatever? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a not so great idea? Do you think the DC should shy away from this and stay in the PG-13 or like 12 arena for a while? Do you think it's a little too much, or do you want to see them lean into this? Do you like where it's going? Do you not like where it's going? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our next bit of movie news. We're going to stick with a theme of Zack Snyder's Justice League just for a second. So the full-length trailer came out on Sunday, yesterday, and everybody's kind of been losing their minds over it. It looks like a really cool trailer. The graphics seem to be enhanced Steppenwolf looks so much better than he did in the Joss Whedon theatrical cut. And they seem to have added quite a bit of material into this movie. It's 4 hours as opposed to 2 hours. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more stuff. But it looks as though this film is going to have more heart, more meaning, and hopefully, fingers crossed, a better story. But right at the very end, excuse me, woof, a little too much carbonation in my system. Pardon me. But right at the very end of the trailer, we get the biggest shock, the biggest surprise. Now, it's been teased before, but we get our first film look at Jared Leto's Joker as he delivers the very classic meme line, "We live in a society." And then he goes off to finish the sentence and whatever. And everyone has started losing their minds. And Jared Leto has responded to people losing their minds over him using this line, this very classic meme line. But I'll be honest, Nate. I will be honest. It took me by surprise, but not for the reason that a lot of people think. This line took me by surprise because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't understand the significance of this. And at the way the trailer ends, he says, "We live in a society where honor has been." I can't remember. Do you remember how he finishes the line in the movie, or rather in the trailer? Something like it's been forgotten. Honor has been.
I think honor has been forgotten. Is what it is.
Unimportant, or something like that.
Yeah,
if you guys are watching in the live chat, can you finish the line, the sentence for us? But yeah, so essentially he's saying, he starts this whole thing off by saying, "We live in a society." And that phrase, new to me, maybe some of you watching already knew this, but it was new to me, that this is like a really big meme. And it has been very closely associated for a few years now, ever since Heath Ledger's Joker. It has been associated with the Joker. And a lot of people thought that the Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix version of the Joker was going to include this line in there somewhere, because it's that movie in and of itself references a lot about the world that we live in and the significance of, the mental health system and the breakdown of healthcare and blah, 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 whatever, right? So a lot of people thought that line was going to be included in that film. But now we come to find out it's actually included in this film. Not that it was meant to be included in any film. It was just kind of more of an Easter egg, a spoiler for the fans. But I had to go back and trace its origins a little bit. As far as I can tell, and please, somebody correct me if I'm way off the mark, but as far as my research has led me, this line originated from a classic Seinfeld episode where George is standing outside of a payphone. Somebody else is using the payphone. George needs to use it, and George just keeps waiting for this person to get off the phone. And George, I know it seems silly to say, "Oh, a payphone? What's a payphone?" It was a thing, trust me. So he's standing at the payphone waiting for this guy to get off the phone, and George, in his impatient way, says, "We live in a society. We all need to follow the rules." Something like that, in his very classic George Costanza kind of way, right? So that verbiage has kind of snowballed into this thing where now, in the height of, well, maybe not the height of the internet, but kind of around the birth of where we use internet information as a tool, going into the state of the world that we live today, where we judge everyone, right? Criticize literally everything on the planet. This phraseology took on a meaning or a term to insinuate the world that we understand, the collective world that we think we know is not right. It's not accurate. And it's comparing an image with a phrase, getting us to question what is actually happening in the world. The things that you view, the viewpoints that maybe you have, are incorrect. That is the best explanation that I have been able to understand that I can give you. Again, if somebody else can clarify this, if somebody else is watching this video and you can clarify we live in a society, what does it mean? If you can break it down into even simpler terms, please, I implore you, jump down to the comment section below and explain this meme a little in more detail. But it bears mentioning that being that is the Joker who says it from the Zack Snyder's Justice League perspective, I think it takes on another meaning. Now, Nate, you've heard this phrase, you've heard this meme before, passed around the internet.
Yeah, I've seen the
What
memes
is the
and stuff like
significance
that.
to you that Zack Snyder has decided to include it in a film like this?
I mean, I think there's a lot there. It could just be, an Easter egg, social commentary, right? Part of me, it makes me wonder. It's not canon or anything, but there's this theory about like the comics that Joker is aware that he's in a comic book, and that's why he is the way he is, and why he's indifferent to his evils. So that, I mean, it could be a nod to that the Joker's kind of aware in a meta sense that he's in a film or whatever. So he's, I mean, and it just could be like an Easter egg. Like I think of what was it, X-Men 3 when Juggernaut quotes the Juggernaut thing. Yeah, exactly. So this could be a tacky Easter egg. But I don't know. This movie seems a lot more careful. Like it seems like this is the Justice League that should have been made had they taken their time and not tried to rush it out and cram it together. And you know what I mean? So maybe this is just kind of the rebooted universe. Like makes me wonder if with the new Flashpoint movie coming out, that maybe this is the retconned post Flashpoint Justice League reality. In my head, I wonder.
I mean, that I hadn't stopped to think about that, but yeah, I guess that's a possibility.
Yeah, well, because like Wonder Woman, and they're already it's the same canon, but there's already differences because Wonder Woman, has been active in the '80s and stuff like that. So it's an already reinvented universe. So in my head, I just wonder if maybe that's what they're going for, or just a way to look at it.
Well, something else I've thought about the version of this film that's coming out. We've had what Justice League came out in 2017. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we've had 3.5 years, because it was like November of 2017. So we've had just under 3.5 years to kind of learn the follies of that movie. Where did it break down? What worked? What didn't work? What did people like? What did people not like? And Screen Crush has a really great video where he breaks down Justice League and compares it against the first Avengers movie. Both films technically directed by Joss Whedon, right? And where obviously Avengers works, Justice League doesn't, because it's not really about anything. It's not about the inner character struggles of these people, of these superhuman individuals. It's about overcoming a problem in a very simple way, whereas the Avengers is about not necessarily overcoming a problem. Like, it's about them admitting defeat but still not giving up, right? In the way, like, he takes various scenes and breaks them down. It's very fascinating. But I think now that so much time has gone by, obviously the vast majority of the film had already been filmed. So Zack Snyder already had a very specific vision for what this movie wanted to be. But with the reshoots that happened very recently, now we get maybe a little insight as to new context. We can possibly understand who these characters are a little bit better and why they're doing what they're doing and the significance of what it is that they're doing. That alone, with the benefit of hindsight, because this is that 1 in a million shot that we get to revisit a property, redo it entirely. This does not happen in Hollywood. It's
normally
just doesn't.
It's
so I'm excited for this.
Like the Sonic the Hedgehog, a bigger world.
Right? Oh man, we could tear that one apart for a minute. Anyway, guys, we could blather on about this for a while, but question is, what do you think of the thoughts in the I guess the meaning behind that we live in a society, as said by Jared Leto's Joker at the end of the trailer? What significance do you think that has? What do you think that he's trying to say? What's the point? What's the message? What is it that he's trying to convey? Yeah, within the movie, but also in a grander context of how does it affect the viewer? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our next bit. This isn't necessarily movie news, but over the weekend, Kim and I had an opportunity to rent the movie Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Oh, man. This was a silly movie. This was a completely silly movie. Now, I am going to do kind of a light review. It's a non-spoiler review, non-spoiler. Now, Nate, I know that you haven't seen the movie.
No, I have not. I want to. It seems light and fun and maybe something the world needs right now.
Yes, I couldn't put it any better. It's light, it's fun, it's silly, it's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb.
But dumb can be magical when applied
It definitely
correctly.
had its magical moments. Yeah, so I don't want to give too much away because the trailers are very careful not to explain what this movie is. Let me just say, without delving into the plot of the movie, the movie is about two friends from Nebraska who are very Nebraskan. And through a series of events, they decide, let's go to Florida. Let's go to Vista Del Mar. Now, there's a whole subplot of the movie, which I'm not going to talk about, that just seems weird. It seems out of place. It seems like they brought on Mike Myers to write the subplot of this movie, because it's wacky. It's wacky. Okay. And we were introduced to the subplot of the movie in the very first opening scene. Okay, cool, great. It's weird. It's wacky. It doesn't. You know that scene in Captain America: Civil War where Spider-Man and Captain America face off a little bit, and Captain America throws his shield, and Spider-Man says like, "That thing doesn't obey the laws of physics at all," and it's kind of a throwaway line, but it explains a little bit. I kind of feel like that is the essence of this movie. Things happen that are just weird and whack. I will give one minor spoiler. Are you okay with a minor spoiler, Nate? Okay.
Yes.
There's a talking crab for no reason.
Okay.
Like there's a crab on the beach in this movie who just starts talking. I believe it's to Kristen Wiig's character, and they have a full-blown conversation about the merits and benefit of existentialism. It's ridiculous, but it's also just kind of like, okay, yeah, I totally buy into that. Yeah, why not? It's man, the talking crab made me laugh so hard. This movie's so stupid. It's a dumb comedy, but I loved it. I loved it, and you are.
I mean, some of the most iconic comedies of all time were dumb. I mean, Dumb and Dumber, it's literally there, and that's
I
hilarious.
Contend, yes,
right?
Dumb and Dumber is a dumb comedy, but it's very smart in its creation. Yeah, they're telling fart jokes. Yes, they're telling bathroom humor. Yeah, it's Jim Carrey just being stupid, but the way it's constructed is done in a very clever way.
Yeah, it's still a quality product.
I wouldn't necessarily argue that Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is constructed in a clever way. It's a straightforward dumb comedy, but the comedy that does exist made me belly laugh so hard. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, Nate, oh no, I'm sorry. Please.
Sorry. As I say, I think there's something to be said for knowing what your product is and embracing that, right? Like, like there's a billion Fast and Furious movies, but they know exactly what they are and what their audience is, and they're not ashamed of that.
Now,
So yeah,
Nate, you
anyway.
haven't seen the movie.
Mhm.
Without giving anything away, is there anything that you want to know going into this movie?
I do wonder if it's. It seems like a. It seems like this is like an SNL sketch, and I don't know if it is that got extended into a movie, and sometimes those are really good, and sometimes they're not. So is just makes me wonder if it's worth watching a 90-minute sketch.
It
Does
does.
that make sense?
Yes. This does kind of have that feel. It kind of does have that feel of like,
Like MacGruber or like Wayne's
yeah.
World, Night at
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Roxbury.
this was not based off of an SNL sketch. This was not based off of any sketch, to my knowledge. But it does kind of have that feel of like, hey, here's these two wackadoo characters. Yeah, and they're going to go
Caricatures,
off on
yeah.
this silly adventure. It kind of does feel like that a little bit. It does. Yeah. I think I'm not entirely sure where the origins of this movie came from, but it stars the two women who wrote Bridesmaids. Obviously, not directed Bridesmaids, but oh man, I can't. Oh, why can't I think of her name? Um, Hold on, sorry, I'll look it up. Annie Momolo. Annie Momolo helped write. She was one of the co-writers on Bridesmaids, and she and Kristen Wiig both wrote and starred in this film. And yeah, it is. There was a part of me that was kind of thinking like, oh, like I haven't seen her, Annie Momolo. I haven't seen her in really anything else. She looks slightly familiar, but from nowhere that I can place her. And seeing her on
Yeah.
screen with Kristen Wiig, I mean, like, yeah, Kristen Wiig is a leading lady, but I kind of feel like this was Annie Momolo's movie a little bit.
Yeah. It almost makes, as an improviser, it feels to me, because like they did Bridesmaids together, if as they were doing Bridesmaids, they were just perpetually doing bits about like who these characters are, and they were like, oh, there's a movie here, right? They just had so many like bits, and the characters were so easy that they were just like, oh, we've got something that's more than just
Yeah.
these funny
Yeah,
moments.
I totally
Does that
agree.
make sense?
Now, I will
So,
say some cons about the movie. The structure of it is a little formulaic. It's very straightforward. And the whole subplot, the B plot of the movie, I think we could have done
mhm.
without that entire B plot. It,
Yeah. Well, maybe they're just stretching,
yeah.
for
Well, I mean,
hit that
there's,
runtime.
because I understand that in order for like a narrative story to like this to kind of work, you need something. You need,
Some
yeah, yeah,
MacGuffins.
yeah, yes. That's exactly what it is. It's a MacGuffin, and like Ian Roberts always used to say from UCB, blue does not show up well against blue. You need something else to set the
Hmm.
colors apart. So if blue against yellow works very well. See, blue and yellow, blue and yellow. Um, I mean, those two
Smart,
colors
smart.
play off very well of each other. So I think that's what this is that you have these two very opposing colors to set off the wackiness of these characters. But I argue you don't need that subplot. It is a little contrived. It's very formulaic. It's very cliche. And when I compare the B plot, the subplot to something out of a Mike Myers movie, I think we can all kind of like understand. And when you see that, you'll immediately know what I'm talking about. Like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
yep, I understand what this is now. Um, and it's not, and again, not something that I think we needed. I think this movie would have worked very well, if not even better. Keep all the wackiness of it, but keep it self-contained
Hmm.
just to Barb and Star. What is it about their relationship that that gets thrown apart a little bit. Like, I think we could have delved into that a little bit more without that subplot. Anyway,
I don't know. Maybe that's that studio influence that seems to be ruining so many films lately when they're like, this is what that movie
could
needs.
be.
You know?
I don't see it because it is more of like an independent type thing. I don't know if anyone
Okay.
really expected Barb and Star to kind of be like this big blockbuster kind of thing. Any last things that, you want to know about the film before we move on?
No, I think you've hit all the things I was
Nice.
curious about.
Well,
with
ladies
it.
and gentlemen, have you had a chance to see Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Do you agree with me that the subplot was completely unnecessary and we could have used a different storytelling MacGuffin there? Or did you like it? Did you like the Mike Myers wackiness of it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to the next bit of movie news. If you have been paying attention to any of HBO Max's big announcements or releases, you would know Godzilla vs. Kong is on the way. It is on its way. It's coming out in both theaters and on HBO Max on the same day, at least in the United States. And we got a really big trailer, a couple of weeks ago. Kind of showcasing the big epic fights between Godzilla and Kong. There have been so many teasers and previews and photos and first looks and blah, 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 leading up to that one big, huge, epic trailer. And now we have another teaser, which seems a little silly to me. A little strange. Why not have a second trailer, you know? But it's a shorter trailer. It's a teaser. I've never seen, never. I'm not familiar with a teaser or like a fourth or fifth teaser coming out after the main epic trailer. I'm sure people have done it, but it seems a little odd to me. I have a theory, but before I go into my theory, Nate, you saw the trailer. What were your knee-jerk reactions of the trailer, and why do you think they put out a teaser after the trailer?
I mean, I think it's just maybe marketing, right? Like, it's such a strange time in movies right now where this is obviously supposed to be like a big blockbuster movie. There's a lot of build up to it. It's one of the few successful cinematic universes that's not like a big comic one or, you know, like Star Wars. So I think they're just trying to just keep that that appetite hungry for this movie. There's as much hype as possible to ensure some sort of success like they would have gotten if it had been a big summer blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see it too, is that we have so much momentum already happening. They're doing what they can to kind of keep this film, keep the story in the public eye, the public zeitgeist, and it doesn't have I mean, that's a fair comparison. It does not have the same type of following that like Star Wars or Marvel or DC has. They need to like keep this in the forefront of people's minds. Yeah, there is that hardcore group of people that love kaiju movies, and there are people that are going to watch this movie the best way that is available to them just because they love Godzilla, they love King Kong. This is the first time in a major cinematic way that we've seen these two characters battle royale on screen together. I mean, we've seen it done in kind of like the cheesy, hokey kind of 1970s, 1980s version, like very, very cheap, but not like this. So, you know, they are trying to do the best of their abilities in terms of marketing. But for the trailer itself, for the teaser itself, there's one specific moment where we don't see the punch thrown or maybe necessarily the whatever that's called, like the fire, the flamethrower coming out of Godzilla's mouth. We don't know exactly what happened to Kong, but we do see Kong having his clock cleaned. Do you think that obviously it's not going to be a major spoiler? Because I think it's fair to say that seeing these two titans battle on screen together, there's going to be some great punches thrown. There's going to be some epic moments where they recoil in what in the world just happened. Do you think that is an Easter egg for what we can expect in the movie in terms of the outcome, or do you think it was just kind of a throwaway moment for the teaser? What do you think?
I feel like so. There's definitely going to be camps of who's going to win, especially since both of these characters have been portrayed as like the good guy in their movies. So it does make me wonder if that's how they're going to have like each party win. So initially, Kong's probably going to have his butt handed to him, but maybe that will allow him to rally later. Because I'm a big Kong fan, but I do think he's kind of underpowered to take on Godzilla with his weapon set. So maybe that's
I kind of see it. I want Kong to win. That's my personal.
Yeah, I'm kind of there.
I want Kong to win.
I think I'm Team Kong.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe who do you think is going to win?
I mean, I think it depends on who is the bad guy, right? Because there's a certain amount of like, as with most versus movies, they're both the bad guy or they're both the good guy, and there's a misunderstanding and both their parents' names are Martha or whatever. But it does seem like, because Godzilla's acting a little villainous in this, so it makes me wonder if there's some sort of an external thing influencing him. So, I think in that sense, Kong, I think, is going to be the champion or the winner, but it could go, very dark and the monsters could win and conquer the world. They've talked a lot about how this is not our planet kind of thing. So it could very much be by the end of the movie, it's a monster-run planet.
In the first official trailer that they showed, the story of that trailer is that something is wrong with Godzilla. Godzilla has been our savior.
Yeah.
He has defeated Mothra. He's defeated King Ghidorah. Not to mention those in the first movie, there were like those two. Yeah, everything. Yeah,
everything
whatever.
else. Yeah.
So Godzilla has been the savior. King Kong has kind of viewed in his Skull Island movie. It was viewed as kind of like the god of that, like the reigning king of that land, of that world, right?
Well, and they talked about like him and his species. They fought the whatever weird creatures were. They were protectors as well.
Also, in the first full trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong, I think it's pretty fair to say that Godzilla is having his clock cleaned by King Kong throughout the majority of the trailer. Sure, Godzilla has some pretty good moments in there as well, but it would appear, based on the first trailer, that Kong is going to be the winner. I have a theory. That I don't know. I have a theory that is all a ploy. That's all a sleight of hand. Hey, look at this. Don't look at this over here. But hey, look at this. I have a feeling that they're going to make Godzilla. Ooh. Here's something that just popped into my brain. We know that Mecha Godzilla is going to make some kind of an appearance in this movie.
Some sort of
what
appearance,
if Godzilla himself is just absent, and the Godzilla that we
so the Godzilla we're seeing is,
because if you go back to the original film,
the skin gets removed, it's going to be a robot.
Everybody was wondering, when I say the original film, I mean Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. I think it was like 1973, something like that. And everyone's like, oh no, why is Godzilla terrorizing everything? He's the good guy. What's going on? And then the more he goes, Godzilla starts tearing the city apart, his skin starts falling off, and he
comes off, and he reveals
he's the robot
monster underneath.
Yeah,
interesting.
So do you there's a possibility that they may do something like that, where it's what's wrong with Godzilla? He's been our savior. Well, it's Mecha Godzilla, idiots. And then maybe
that's a good twist.
King Kong defeats Mecha Godzilla, but then Godzilla comes out and says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it depends on what's if it is Godzilla, what's influencing him. Is it people? Is it another thing? I don't know. So there's a lot of unknowns, which the fact that we're saying this, I think that's a tribute to the quality of trailer. They've given us a lot of information, but we still have enough questions that we want to see
Agreed.
the movie.
Question for you guys is, how do you think this is going to go down? Why do you think that Warner Brothers and Legendary and HBO Max have decided to release a teaser after the main trailer? Do you think it's just to keep our engagement with the movie and looking forward to it and just keeping it in the social zeitgeist? Or do you think there's another reason behind it? Who do you think is going to be the winner of Kong versus Godzilla, or rather Godzilla versus Kong? Can't get that title wrong. Everybody will kill me on the internet for it. Anyway, jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our last bit of news today. It's not news at all because this episode has already dropped. If you clicked on this video, you know that this is going to be a WandaVision episode 6 spoiler review. Now, this last Friday on Disney Plus, episode 6 of WandaVision came out, entitled the all-new Halloween Spooktacular. And the first thing I was surprised by in this trailer, because it took me a second to figure it out, we skipped the 90s. We just totally skipped the 90s in terms of storytelling narrative. So episode 1 starts off in the 50s, episode 2 was in the 60s, episode 3 was in the 70s. Episode 4, we kind of got to learn what was actually happening in this world. Episode 5, we jumped to the 80s. And then episode 6, we kind of thought was going to be the 90s, like a classic 90s sitcom. Nope. We jumped to the early 2000s in a Malcolm in the Middle style episode where, hey, it's Halloween. This is a spoiler review. Quicksilver's there. He's in the opening title sequence, and he knows he's not the Quicksilver. It's a weird amalgam of this character. Quicksilver knows that he is not the same Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. So, as opposed to last week's speculation that the appearance of Evan Peters as Quicksilver in that episode has now blown open the multiverse. It's still possible. We're not shutting down that theory. But is it Evan Peters is it Quicksilver from the X-Men movies? Is it an alternate version? Is it a strange amalgam? Is it somebody else pulling the strings? Because in this episode, Evan Peters is asking the same question that Vision is asking. How are you doing this? He's asking the same question that Sword is asking. How are you doing? Why are you doing this? Vision has his own adventure where he goes off, and we come to learn that Wanda is, yes, while she's controlling this whole thing, and she's kind of like possessing the people's minds and making them believe certain things about themselves and acting in a certain way to keep up this reality, this ruse of this bizarre sitcom world that she's now decided to live in by taking over Westview. She's losing control. She is losing control. People are glitching. She has frozen certain people because her attention is being kept elsewhere. This is also the first time that we've actually seen children, besides Billy and Tommy, in Westview. For the children. Everyone's so concerned about for the children. Where are the children? What's happening with the children? This is, we get some big, maybe not big revelations, but some big spectacular things happen. Wanda freaked out a little bit. She's now expanded the world of Westview. A lot of Sword agents have now been turned into clowns. There's now a town, like the circus is in town, right? We don't know what became of Darcy. She got absorbed into the Westview bubble circle-y thing. We don't know what she got turned into. Catherine Hahn coming, like, where we've always speculated that she's playing the witch Agatha Harkness, and being that she's stuck in her car dressed in a witch costume, one more piece of speculative, maybe it's all a red herring. Maybe it's all a red herring just to say, oh, they're going to think it's Agatha Harkness. But really, it's, who knows? Who knows? Now, Nate, you being here as our comic book aficionado specialist expert, you might have a little more insight as to what's going on here. I know a lot of people online are speculating about Nightmare is controlling this, or maybe Mephisto is there. Yeah,
big name in it. Yeah.
And they've also dropped a lot of references to the House of M. A lot of references. There, I think it was the first episode. There was that wine bottle that said Maison de something, which essentially translates from House of M.
Yeah, House of
M.
There was
a lot of like upside down W's and like and letter M's in various tapestries and whatever. So Wanda, House of M, what kind of thing. What do you think is going on here? Who do you think these characters are? Let's start with Catherine Hahn. Do you think that she actually is playing the witch Agatha Harkness?
Oh, that's tricky because it's so deliberate and carefully crafted, right? So it's hard to say what is just an amazingly placed hint or what is it's just really done Easter egg. I don't know. She does seem to have a better understanding of what's going on in there than anybody else. Like she seems to be aware that it's a manipulation more consistently, and like she keeps the other characters in check. And it even seems like she is capable of manipulating Wanda a little bit. Like I thought it was interesting when the dog died, she didn't actually show her the dog.
Oh, I never thought about that.
So I mean, if she is more capable, that lends precedence to the fact that maybe she does know magic. But you know, it's hard to say because it could be, you know, she could be Agatha Harkness, but without, you know, not being a sorcerer because, you know, it's a reinvented character. So it's really hard to say. All right,
let's jump to Vision for a second because in previous episodes, it has been heavily speculated that Vision is the reanimated corpse of Vision, of himself. That she has brought all the pieces.
She's weakened at Bernie's.
But we do get that flash of security footage of Wanda breaking into a sword facility, stealing all of and the body parts of Vision are all over the room.
Right, he was disassembled, which seemed contrary to what his wishes were. If that guy really cared about maintaining
you used
his wishes.
a word, disassembled, and I've never put two and two together. But we know that Avengers Disassembled led into House of M.
House of M, yes.
Do you think? I mean, maybe I'm just pulling strings where strings don't exist, but. Do you think it's possible that his physical disembodiment, his disassemblement, was representative of Avengers Disassembled?
It's hard to say. Once again, it's so brilliantly and carefully crafted. I don't think she's puppeteering him because he seems to be too independent for that. Right? I think maybe he was dead, but my kind of theory is like the more colored it is, the more real it's becoming. Because, you know, when he was dead, he's in black and white, and as the world has progressed, it became colored more.
Here's a theory that I had early on in like episodes 1 and 2, and even in episode 3. Episode 4 kind of made me rethink this a little bit, but I don't know, I'm kind of revisiting this a little, especially after seeing Vision outside of the hex and then getting pulled back in. He cannot exist outside of the hex. So that kind of brings me back to my original theory or thought. What do you think of Vision being the physical embodiment of Wanda's subconscious?
It's possible, but I think that's truly him. And it kind of also makes me wonder, because my theory's been that equally, like, I don't think it's all Wanda, but she's being manipulated, but I think they're also they need Vision for something as well. Because there was a couple of, like, lines early on where they talked about, like, needing his super brain. So it just, makes me wonder if whoever was manipulating Wanda is also trying to get access to whatever Vision
So
is
you've
as
mentioned
well.
somebody else manipulating Wanda. I think that's pretty fair to say is maybe
Hmm.
not an absolute certainty, but we're pretty sure somebody else is pulling the strings here. But then again, maybe not. If somebody is pulling the
Hmm.
strings here, who are your top picks? Who do you think is the most likely?
Um, I mean, my first thought was Mephisto, just because he was such a big thing in the comics, and we know we're kind of getting more into like the horror universe with the upcoming like Doctor Strange
And
and
just for
Multiverse of
clarity,
Madness
sorry,
and
just for
Blade coming
clarity,
up.
Mephisto is Satan himself.
Fundamentally, yeah. Back in the day, they had a couple of different, but at this point, yeah, Mephisto is like the big devil of the
Okay.
Marvel universe.
Who else?
Um, it's possible because in the comics, there was a villain associated with the Vision
That's
called the Grim
right.
Reaper that could bring people back to life, and there's a lot of talk about the concept of bringing people back to life has come up a lot in this show,
Ooh.
right? Just like even when Wanda mentions it, and Agatha's like, "Oh, you can bring people back to life," so that
Well, they
that's a
even had a Grim
possibility.
Reaper Easter egg in episode 2.
Exactly. So that could be it. Um, I wonder about like Hydra or AIM, but that
Mm.
I've kind of moved away from. I do wonder about the guy that's in charge of the FBI that that tried to attack Wanda. He seems to have like an agenda because he was the one that had once again Vision's body, but they didn't
I
seem to
just
be
see him
respecting his
being just a
wishes that he
jerk.
claimed
Like,
were so
he's just your
important.
standard military
Yeah.
operative. We're doing things by the book. I'm not going to take chances. And so far,
Yeah.
his reactions to everything going on within the show seem very in line with a standard military operation.
Yeah, but if it's an experiment that's gotten out of their control, maybe he's just trying to terminate it.
Oh. Do you think there may have been like a little bit of mind control? Uh,
I think, yeah, I don't think initially Wanda knew what was going on, but I think she at some point realized she was in this like fake world and that she can control it. And she's like, oh, why wake up from this dream world that's perfect
right.
if I don't have to?
Interesting.
So, but also like, I just thought it was weird, like why he was tracking Vision specifically and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's so hard to say. I think it's definitely once it's done, one of those things you're gonna like a second viewing through once you really know what's going on is
Yeah.
gonna prove beneficial.
And,
But
Kim and I have already started going back through and rewatching some of these episodes, knowing what we know now. Of course, we still don't know the full story. Um, what about the theory of Wanda herself? Like, she's not being controlled, she's not being manipulated. This is just her pure, absolute freak out. This is her reaction, her response to losing her brother, losing Vision, losing Tony Stark. Um, uh, this whole battle royale that went down with Thanos. Like, we know mentally she's not in a bad,
she's
she's
processing
in
a
a
lot.
bad
Yeah.
spot. What do you think about the theory of her just being the villain of her own story?
Mm. It's possible, but I don't think so. And I mean, maybe that's because I don't want it to be true. But once again, it seems like she initially was also kind of
Yeah.
unaware, right? Like at the start, she couldn't remember things, and she had confusing moments and stuff like that. Which that's why it leads me to believe that she was initially there's some outside influence that was using her or using her for her powers, and maybe it's gotten out of hand, or she's realized that she is behind the steering wheel kind of thing. So it's very possible, and that would be cool, but I don't think
How
that's
about
what it is.
Quicksilver? Evan Peters as Quicksilver. In this episode, they actually showed footage from Age of Ultron where
Hmm.
Pietro was shot to death
Yeah.
by Ultron. And now comparing, like, because we have we have Aaron Taylor Johnson's face in the same episode
Hmm.
as Evan Peters' face, both playing the same character. Where do
Hmm.
you think Evan Peters is going to end up being the big reveal, or do you think he was already the big reveal character? What do you think is going on with him and his character?
Well, I think so. Like how you talked about it, it's still a distinct possibility that it could be both, because even though they've addressed that it is a different Pietro and that he looked different at his death, he has referenced memories that he has that Wanda does
Right.
not from their childhood. So I think it's kind of a weird like modge podge of both of those
What if
characters.
he's lying though? Let
And that is possible that
Let's
he's a
just say that he
manipulation
himself is
or
Grim
he's.
Reaper, taking upon
Mhm.
the form of Pietro. Like, because again,
Yeah.
towards the end of the last episode of episode 5. Sorry, I have to go back through and remember what actually happened in episode 5.
Yeah.
There, like, Vonda, Vision, Vonda and Vision. Now I can't get that out of my mind. Wanda and Vision were having a very heartfelt moment, and there was this whole thing about like the kids growing up, right? Because they get to choose when they
Mhm.
want to grow up, and the dog dying and everything. And that is when Evan Peters shows up. Of course, we all think it's Quicksilver, but I think there's like, I don't know. It's almost.
Something
Well, no,
that. Oh,
well,
go
it's
ahead.
almost
Sorry.
like Wanda is on the verge of figuring out, or rather, of being on the same page as Vision, right?
Mhm.
And we know that they're not on the same page. Vision has his own questions and theories, and he's figured out how to like unlock people's brain manipulation and then kind of put them back. So he gets little flashes of information. Um,
Mhm.
but then, and that's the moment when Evan Peters shows up. So I don't know. I kind of feel like the villain is taking on the embodiment. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about this all in real time right now. The
Oh
villain's
yeah, yeah,
taking
yeah.
on the embodiment of Evan Peters because it's familiar and it's a clever way to kind of
It's a distraction.
redirect Wanda where she needs to
Mhm.
go.
And maybe once that's what that was supposed to be, but because she seems to be able to influence that, maybe I don't know. Maybe once again they introduced him as a distraction or something to make her feel comfortable, but maybe her influence has allowed the deviation from his personality. Because if he was a distraction, I don't know. Like he points out that she's manipulating people. It's kind of a weird
Yeah,
distraction,
it totally is.
you know. Like he antagonizes her versus calming her down and being like it's fine and stuff like that, or he seems to be aware that what she's doing is problematic even though he's not against it. Kind of that's a
Well, he's
weird
asking
way to
probing
like
questions.
soothe her. Yeah, but there's all throughout the show, like all the characters seem to be
Yeah.
looking for information. Like at the very first episode when they were like, "What's going on with you?" Like it seems like something is looking for answers in whatever this field is with them.
I also find it curious that at kind of like the climax of episode 5, when Wanda and Vision kind of like fly
Mhm.
up and have that kind of like face-off moment against each other. In that confrontation comes this whole idea that there are no children in Westview. What happened to the children?
Mhm.
And now in episode 6, all the children are there. So that very well could be like if in that moment Wanda has this subconscious realization that, oh my goodness, there are no children. What have I done with the children? Where have they been all this time? What if they're sleeping in their beds? What if they like she just kind of like made them not exist at all? And now in episode 6 she's brought them in, and whomever is, and now I'm operating under the assumption that Quicksilver is not Quicksilver, some let's just say Mephisto, or I think Grim Reaper is one of the more likely of outcomes here. So let's just say the Grim Reaper shows up as Quicksilver, in his version of being like, what's this now? Hang on, you're bringing children into my world? I don't think so. What's going on? So yeah, I mean, like she comes to know that there are no children, and now she manifests all the children. So I don't know. What do you think is going on there? There's something bigger at work.
And maybe it's just like looking at it like a play, because they seem to be aware, certain characters, that they're in a show, right? Like when the extras come on all of a sudden, you don't really think about the fact it's like, oh, where have those extras been the whole time? It's like they didn't serve a purpose as of yet. And maybe, yeah, it is simply because somebody questioned it. So they're like, this is weird. And so they're like, no, it's not weird. Here are all those children that have definitely been here this whole time. Or maybe it's just simply, they didn't need a hammer. And so now they need a hammer. So they've reached over and got it out of the toolbox. Because, right, it makes sense that if the kids are growing and experiencing Halloween, there's going to be other children and stuff like that. Right? Like we only saw a few staple characters until like they needed. It's very much when they need more, we get introduced to more.
There's so much about this episode that we could break down. We could probably talk further on. Nate, final thoughts of the episode overall. Where do you think it's going to go? What are your final fan theories?
I mean, I'm hoping it does kind of. It would be cool if this is one of the Easter eggs that they're planning and building into, like how they're going to get the X-Men in. So I am hoping it's not just a cool thing like a recasting with having the new Pietro the X-Men's Pietro. So I'm hoping that there's more to it than that. I mean, if not, it's still cool. I'm banking on. I don't think Wanda is the true villain. That's my theory. That's kind of where I think ultimately I'm going with it, because they've hinted at that. So I think ultimately somebody is using Wanda and Vision for their own means, and maybe by the end of it they're gonna, it's gotten out of control, but maybe by the end of it Vision will be back, and who knows if, Quicksilver will be back and their kids will be a permanent facet. But that's kind of what I'm hoping, because it does seem like they're kind of also building to like a young Avengers, right? Because they have Miss Marvel and Ironheart and a young Hawkeye and Spider-Man's there. So it does seem like they're building to that, and maybe these are some of those building blocks for that.
We've speculated for a long time now that they've been building a Young Avengers, or like been building up towards a Young Avengers. I would love that. I would love that so much. I mean, we've had Cassie Lang. We know that Haley Steinfeld is going to be playing first fiddle as Kate Bishop. Yeah. Man, so many, like even the mechanic, the little kid mechanic from Iron Man 3, he was at Tony Stark's funeral. Why? Well, because they're building up for Young Avengers. And again, like as you say, now we have Magic and Speed, who are the children of Wanda. It's all there. It's all there. It's gonna happen. It's a matter of time. When's it gonna happen? We're not sure, but it's gonna happen. But I mean, there's so much about this episode that we could break down. We haven't even touched all the Monica Rambeau stuff. Like, we know that she has a sordid relationship with Captain Marvel. Now she and Jimmy Woo are on the outs with the Sword operative guys. They did not get absorbed into the Hex. They got away. There's still, we know that Monica Rambeau's internal, she's changed. Yeah,
she's
on a
changing,
cellular,
right?
molecular, blah blah blah, whatever. She's gonna become Photon or whatever version. She goes by like 50,000 different names in the comics.
Yeah, she's had a lot of different names.
But yeah, so like guys, what do you think of episode 6? Where do you think this is going? Who's pulling the strings? What is going to happen? There's so much stuff to talk about. Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, we've moved on to the final portion of the day where a lot of you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long. So now we're going to go in and take those now.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Guys, some of you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long, so now we're going to go through and take some of those. Now, Nate, why are you so tiny on my screen? There we go. Our first comment came from Roland Lopez. We already read that. Roland, thanks so much for watching. Matthew Weil says, I love you, Mike, but if it takes more than 4 weeks to come out after you have seen it, you owe me your Wolverine model. Oh, okay, so Matthew is referring to... Oh, man, we have to do this all the time. So Matthew's referring to the Snyder Cut Justice League. If it takes more than 4 weeks to come out in the UK for him to see it, that I owe him... excuse me, this is going to take me a second to finagle. I have a particular statue of Wolverine sitting on my desk. This is something that Matthew covets, something that he wants. This is not up for grabs, Matthew. I love you, but you're not getting my Wolverine. Not happening. Because if I did, where would Weird Al Yankovic sit? Weird Al needs something to sit on, and that is Wolverine. Okay. Matthew Wiles goes on to say, for me, I want the Justice League 2. I want Justice League 2 for in the same vein. It's fine. There are other R-rated movies, but I want the story to continue like they hinted in the after credit scene. Sorry, it's not going to happen. Plus, I want to see John Boyega as Green Lantern. Actually, you know what? I could very much get behind that. Matthew Wiles and I have this long, sordid history relationship with John Boyega. He keeps pulling my chain saying that I hate John Boyega. I do not hate John Boyega. I do not think he's a bad actor. I do not think he is an Academy Award winning level actor yet. He may get there. I don't think he's there yet. And so he and I have had this whole back and forth about if they did recast Black Panther, which I still think is going to happen. He wants it to be John Boyega.
Especially if they bring a multiverse in. Especially with multiverse stuff.
Oh, man, I never thought about that. Yeah, it's possible. On a tangent, let me go off on a tangent. I have a feeling that Black Panther 2, the story of Black Panther 2, is going to be the mystery of what happened to T'Challa. T'Challa's gone missing. Where did he go? And I think that's how you introduce Namor. I think Namor he will have kidnapped Black Panther, blah blah blah, whatever. So anyway, so that's a whole separate thing. But yes, John Boyega as Green Lantern, as John Stewart, I could definitely see that. They're not going to do a Justice League 2. Warner Brothers has already been very vocal about that. They are not going to be continuing on with the not Deadshot. Not Bloodsport. Shoot, John Manganiello. Deathstroke. Thank you.
Deathstroke.
In fact, I have Deathstroke right there. Slade Wilson. They're not going to continue on with that story. Yeah, I mean that would have been kind of fun to see. They're just not going to do it. Thoughts?
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, it's possible. I just don't think that the direction that the Zack Snyder verse has been going in has been working for Warner Brothers. It has not worked the way that they want it to work. Zack Snyder is not severing ties with Warner Brothers, but we know he's not going to be writing, directing any future films. They want to do something more in line of Marvel, not in terms of like funny, interconnected movies, but we've already seen them like start to do their own things. Like the Suicide Squad is completely separate from the first film. Harley Quinn in the Fantabulous Emancipation, Birds of Prey movie, is kind of its own standalone movie. It lightly connects to other stuff, but not really. Joker movie is its own standalone film. Aquaman has been very specific in keeping it its own thing. Yeah, they mentioned Steppenwolf, but that was it. Wonder Woman is going in its own direction. I don't see them continuing on with this line. What do you think?
I mean, once again, I'll cite my earlier theory that with Flashpoint, anything is possible, right? And it when it comes to money, also anything is possible. Because I remember back when Sony and Marvel were feuding, and every other week we were like, okay, there's going to be no more Spider-Man movies. Oh, we've got more Spider-Man movies, right? So when it comes to like money, anything is possible, especially with this new like Snyder cut could kind of
True.
reinvent things. So
I don't
I
think the
still think
money's
it's
there though.
possible.
Like and I understand the possibility of Zack Snyder's Justice League compared to Joss Whedon's Justice League. Joss Whedon's Justice League barely broke even. It made like $600 million at the box office, and on a $200 million budget, that's what you need to break even. So they barely made any money. I don't know. I mean, BVS lost money. What else was there? Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. But you're right. If the money's there, they'll do it. But so far, people haven't been voting with their dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's the quality of the product,
Yeah.
right? Like if there's a quality product, I think people will, um just I think like WandaVision, people are going nuts for that because it's so good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right? So like if they come out with, because so much of the DC universe that's come out so far has been so disappointing. But I think if people are like, "Oh, this is what I was hoping for," they'll get to like shut
There's a
up and
lot of
take my
ifs
money
happening there. Like
mode.
historically, DC
Oh yeah,
has
yeah.
not, and Warner Brothers has not. They've not been putting out great DCEU films. Like
Yeah, the films, but they do put out good content, right? Like the Young Justice series, in my opinion, is the best developed like film DC universe, or the cartoon films that you talked about. Most of
they
those are
are,
phenomenal. So they have
but they
that
don't. They have the
potential.
potential, but they don't have the reach. You know, my fiance will watch like all the Marvel movies and stuff like that, but whenever it comes down to hey, let's watch like the animated Batman something or other, it's not that she doesn't want to, it's just it doesn't appeal all that much. And it's not wrong. It's, same thing with me. So many people love anime. Like if you like anime, you are hardcore anime. Like I'm overgeneralizing here, but like I can't tell you how many people have told me, "Oh, well, you just haven't found the right anime." No, I just don't like the animation style. I don't like how it looks. I don't like how it feels. It's just me. It's not for me. And I mean, yeah, DC's got a lot of great content. I just don't think that it's finding the right audience. I don't know.
Uh,
Moving on. Matthew Wild says, I think Joker's comments came in an episode entirely set in Batman's nightmare, and it's a commentary on how they live in a society where good Batman has to work with bad Joker. I think Joker's comments came in an episode entirely set in Batman's nightmare, and it's a commentary on how they live in a society where good Batman has to work with bad Joker. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a poignant point to make, where like, in order to do, maybe not necessarily the right thing, but in order to like, make the best decision possible, sometimes we have to do kind of the wrong thing, making morally ambiguous choices and decisions sometimes are your only option. And I think that is such an interesting way to go. Whether or not that scene is taking place in one of Batman's nightmares or visions, I mean, because this trailer does talk about a lot about Batman having visions and seeing the future and seeing what is to come, and he believes an impending attack is coming. Again, I don't think the DCEU has done a very good job at building up to this. That's my own personal speculation. I mean, yeah, those hints have been dropped in like BVS and whatever, but that's an interesting. I mean, it's possible. It very well could be. Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, like comparing it to the Marvel movies where they were so good, they had a very clear like roadmap and like plan as to that. And with everything they've done with the DC stuff, like it's like an omelet where like I like all the components, right? Like I like cheese and I like eggs and vegetables. Just like I like the individual characters. They just put it together poorly. And I think, they just didn't do the world building beforehand
Didn't lay the
truly
groundwork.
execute this.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. Megan Payne says, digging the hair, Mike. Whose hair, Megan?
I mean,
Well, thank you. Megan goes on to say, I think she's referring to Barb and Star, our comments about Barb and Star. Megan says, reminds me of the Sweater Weather skit on SNL. I'm not familiar with the Sweater Weather skit on SNL. Are you familiar with it, Nate?
I don't think I know that one.
Sweater Weather. Yeah, I'm not familiar, but I mean, like that is kind of the feeling and the gist that I get from the Barb and Star movie is that it does kind of feel like an SNL sketch turned into a film. Because that's their background. That's kind of what they know, right? Matthew Weil says it's a vaccine side effect, maybe. Oh, in referring to my hair. Digging the hair, Mike. It's a vaccine side effect, maybe. Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I had that side effect.
Yeah, I mean, I have been growing my hair out lately, just because again, like, why not? We're in quarantine. I don't know. I haven't had long hair for a while, so I'm kind of digging it. Now, Nate, you go by Bald Nate. You are bald, but you do have hair.
Yep, very much so.
In other parts of your head. Have you ever considered like growing your hair out in I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a classic character that has like the around the sides look. I don't know. Have you ever considered growing it out a little bit?
I find as it gets longer, it just looks terrible. Like it's all crazy. Like there's just not a character like that's balding where it's longer that it's portrayed in like a positive way to me, right? Like I think of like Ted on Scrubs, who is always frazzled, or like Bozo the Clown or something. Like it just doesn't look good.
Bozo
in my
was
opinion.
a genius, by the way. Genius comedian.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah, he was a genius, but he wasn't. No one compares him as a attractive male lead. Not to discredit
Matthew
Bozo,
Weil says
but...
Godzilla versus Kong. They will both fight and then unite to defeat Toot Godzilla. He clarified by saying Robot Godzilla. Yeah, that's because I mean the taglines have all said one will fall. So.
But does that mean one's going to fall to the other, or one is going to perish by the end? That could.
We all want it to. We all want there to be one winner, but the problem with having one winner is that there will be one loser. So, I mean, there's the possibility that Godzilla will die because we've had more Godzilla movies than we've had King Kong movies. So that could leave the door open for more King Kong movies going forward. I don't know.
Here. Well, sorry, 1 second. My dog is stuck real quick. I'll be right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you go take care of that. Well, we're taking care of that. Bald Nate is taking care of that. Jeff Eldridge chimes in and says, Bald Nate is a sexy beast. I can confirm this. And as soon as Bald Nate gets back, we will inform him of your comments, Jeff. Nate, just let me know when you're back. Oh, you're back now.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry. In the clutter of my moved house, my dog's collar got stuck. And he was panicking a little bit.
Well, we have a comment directed directly to you from Jeff Aldridge.
Oh, okay.
Jeff.
He
is a good dude. Jeff says, Bald Nate is a sexy beast.
Well,
Totally. Matthew Wiles, can you have your T-shirt, Mike? Why, yes, I can have my T-shirt. And then he clarifies in saying, can I have your T-shirt, Mike? No, you cannot. For those of you who can't see my shirt, here, let me move this. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Nate, you're a nerd, geek aficionado. Can you name all of the nerdy geeky things going on here?
I think so. So that looks, the middle one is,
Correct.
I believe, Link's sword. And then we have, on the sides, I think
Correct.
there's Gandalf's staff, Harry Potter's wand,
Yeah, Harry
Sonic
Potter's wand,
screwdriver.
Sonic screwdriver. It may be hard to see. It's a lightsaber. It's pretty obvious. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I couldn't
of
quite
course
make
we
it
have-
out. And then
Yep.
the Lord of the Rings.
And then the overall design.
And then with the Harry Potter.
Deathly Hallows. Yeah.
Deathly Hollows. Yeah, there's one on, I think it's your left, the bottom, the one that's opposite the Sonic screwdriver. I'm not quite
this is
sure
Harry
what
Potter's
that one
wand.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's two Harry
all
Potter
right,
references in this. Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, it was one of those shirts
It's a tight
I
shirt.
found
it's a tight
at
shirt.
I think I got this at FlameCon in Brooklyn like four years ago, something like that. I love this shirt. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a great shirt.
And
yeah.
our last comment of the day once again comes from Matthew Wiles in response to my saying, "No, you cannot have my shirt." He says, "You're very selfish." Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. That's how I like to live my life, very selfishly, and keeping keeping my Wolverine statue and my own apparel. Bald Nate, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thanks for coming to...
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
one
It was
more
so much
comment
fun.
from Matthew Wiles. He says, "But me and John still love you." Well, I love you and John Boyega. Even though he's not an Academy Award level actor. Bald Nate, thanks so much for being here and adding your own special brand of expertise and insight into pretty much all the things that we've been talking about today. We talked about a lot of big franchise type stuff, which appeals to me. I'm pretty sure it appeals to you as well, especially based on your Father's Day t-shirt that you've received. Honoring the late, great Stan Lee and all of his beautiful MCU characters. Nate, where can people find you online, and what projects do you have coming up in the near future?
Let's see. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Not a lot these days since we're not producing as much content. But I think you can find me just under Bald Nate under both of those things. Projects. The only thing, since, as you mentioned, I'm part of Off the Cuff here in Cedar City, and I also perform with a group down in St. George called the So You Comedy Theater, and you can find both of them on Facebook and stuff. The only major thing, because a lot of that's not happening right now, I just filmed a commercial recently that should be coming out soon.
What's the commercial for?
Yes. So it's for it's a vacuum company that's coming out. With their viral marketing campaign. So I don't know when exactly that's coming out, but it's something that I filmed recently. It should be coming out soon.
Awesome!
So,
Congratulations.
yeah, I'm sure I'll push it a bunch when it comes out. So they're hoping it's going to take off and lead to
That's
some big
really
things, but
exciting.
We'll see.
That's off to you, sir. That's really cool. Well, again, thanks so much for being here,
you.
and
Yeah.
I hope to see you again. Let's bring you back.
Oh, I'd love to. Let me know, man. We'll make
All
it
right,
happen.
guys. If you like this video, please click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what John Boyega would want you to do. Anyway, guys, my name is Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And we live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse just a little bit of kindness into the world, if you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, please, I implore you, take those opportunities. And as always, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.